guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Kazanthi here, and today I'm building a sort of family holiday home. So I've chosen to build this in granite falls just because one, easy place to make a holiday home, and two, I really like the tall pine trees, and that was kind of the aesthetic I wanted to go for, was a log cabin. It is a bit of a bougie log cabin, but I'm imagining it like, you know, a family maybe comes here every year for holidays, and so it's a bit like it's got stuff in it from use over time. But yeah, so you've seen that I've done all the terrain building already, and then originally for the house I was going to have 3 dormers on each side of the first floor. But as soon as I finished doing the roofing, I realised how much that was, and just decided instead to get rid of the 3 on the backhand side where the light doesn't come through so much. So then there's just 3 dormers, and then later on I do change it as well to 1 larger dormer on the right and a small dormer on the left. So it does go through a lot of changes, this build. Don't get too attached to anything within like maybe the first 15 minutes of this video, because I was really having a hard time figuring out the, like, in terms of functionality as well, and everything like that. So it does go through a lot of changes as we progress through the build, but yeah. So I did round out the roofs originally as well, but again that changes later, so they go back to being a flatter shape. So yeah, here you see more the finished look of the build, and I just think that the dormers on the left hand side of this build is probably the best, because obviously the light in the morning comes from that side of the lot, so it is really pretty when you are playing. You'll see it in the screenshots, but yeah. So then I'm just trying to climb a mountain really and pick some doors and windows. I don't know why it's such a struggle for me. I know I knew I wanted the Realm of Magic round windows, just because I think, one, they fit the actual space very well where it wasn't the roof, if that makes sense, and then 2, they are so large without any lattice work as well, so if you just saw a brief look at it there, it lets the light in really easily. I did entertain the idea of using the Machino windows from that stuff pack, as you can see I'm doing here, but the thing is, because of the dormer, you get to look in, you can see it really well here, you get to look in and then it's just a wall on either side because of the dormers and the roofs, so it wasn't really the best look, unfortunately. So yeah, just stuck with the Realm of Magic windows because that was like the best compromise I could make. I flipped them on the inside because I didn't want that little stand at the bottom of the window poking through on the outside. I think it kind of ruined the aesthetic. Now I'm adding in a balcony, which again was just a little nice touch, I thought, because of how the light works on this lot. So, you know, it comes off from the kitchen, what will be the kitchen. So it's sort of like you can sit out there in the early morning after you've had like coffee or something. I just thought that would be really cute. Then I used the same pergola trick with the fencing tool, and also the oh my god, what's it called? That tool. What are they called? Trim. No, yeah, trim corners thing. Oh, what? Freeze, the freeze tool. Ah, that was so hard to remember. But yeah, so and then it becomes covered in vegetation later. But you might have seen when the walls were down, that the light coming through, there you go, is so pretty. And I think that was just my main motivator for this build, was just have as much light as coming in as possible. I'll get more into that in a bit when we move inside, which might be now, but yeah, so I decided also to use some stilts, again, throwback to my first video, just because of how I had built the terrain, and I didn't want to have like a massive foundation. I thought maybe as well that it kind of fit the idea of a log cabin because it was wooden stilts, so I don't know, I think it suits it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how the exteriors turned out. I'm especially happy with this terrain paint, so I used the Outdoor Retreat swatch. That is the one that looks like dead pine needles, and then I layer it with a stone swatch. Again, with this build, like with my last build, I did have a lot of trouble with evening out the terrain to suit, like, so I could have some flat bits and so it was also natural and everything. But don't worry, even though it's not flat in some areas, it is still fully functional. Sims can walk all over basically as well. So you see here I'm layering it with this stone swatch. Unfortunately, the terrain paint did delete when I came back into the Sims to finish off this build later on. So the stone swatch I layer the terrain paint with later on changes, like with a lot of stuff in this build. But yeah, you can see I'm moving onto the inside of the house now. This is the basic floor plan. So you get an entryway, and then there's a sort of guest bathroom, but it's essentially a half bath for downstairs. There's then the study on the right, the living space in the centre, kitchen before the balcony area, and then dining room on the very left. I did go with using a ladder for this build. Originally I wasn't planning on it being like a family home, so I thought the ladder would be fine because I really wanted to build a loft for the upstairs essentially, but unfortunately it wasn't working. But another day, another dollar, can do that another time. You can see here I've got the little dormers as the space where it becomes a loft, but it just, yeah, there was something off about it. I couldn't make it work. Maybe it looks fine to someone else, maybe I was just being too judgmental, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't really work out. So, but I will be doing that because I do miss oh my god, what was that? I do miss building loft builds, yes. Also, the first floor wasn't big enough to fit in a double bed, so I just extended it out. So technically, I think the roof pieces are a bit lopsided. They look even, but one of them's bigger than the other, I think, or something, not sure. But yeah, I did entertain the idea of also using a green roof trim just to offset the red roof tile. But yeah, I just instead decided stick with the orange trim, keep it simple. I think if the wood paneling on the outside had been darker, then the green would have worked. But yeah, unfortunately, just wasn't the case with this one because I really wanted to stick with the lighter tone. I feel like I've been kind of into lighter tones recently. Between this and my last build, they were quite heavily influenced by a white colour, or a light colour palette even. So yeah, and I used the same door as well from the last build in this one, so I think I just kind of copy and paste a bit from build to build. Yeah, so to start off with for landscaping, I just sized up loads of rocks, layered them all on top of one another, because obviously when you use the terrain tool to such extremes like I have here, and then you place things like rocks or bushes down on the slopes of the banks, they actually don't snap properly, because obviously everything in The Sims snaps to a flat surface. So if it becomes slanted, then they just sort of stick out and float. So to make it look more realistic, I did lay up a lot of rocks all over the place. And yeah, I didn't use any debug rocks either. I think there's some from what's it called, Strangerville, that are debug, and they're quite nice and you can change the swatches on them, fortunately. But the problem with them was that they were very long. There was like rocks in a line, so it just wasn't the organic look I was going for. I do use quite a lot of outdoor retreat in this build, so all the flooring and wallpaper, that's all outdoor retreat. And then I use, I'm so sorry, there's a car outside, I hope you can't hear that. That's really distracting. I think it's like a van, like a repair van for cars. Anyway, yeah, so I do use a lot of this bush and flower that comes with outdoor retreat. So I went into debug and I found the live edit object, which is this sort of low-lying larger one, and that is what I used to create the creeper effect on the pergola. Then I layered and raised up with the 9 and 0 keys, loads of the bushes to wrap around that left hand beam post, and then that was sort of the way I made it look a bit more natural. I pull out a few more bushes, or like 1 or 2 more bushes from debug, but otherwise a lot of it is also from the catalogue. I think a lot of the granite falls bushes are from the catalogue as well, because I just couldn't be bothered to pull out loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of bushes from debug. It's just easier to copy and paste from the catalogue using the eyedropper tool. But yeah, so then I've created this seating area. So this house is for 4 Sims, but the dining room and this outdoor seating area both have 6 seats, so obviously you can invite like other Sims around, or like maybe figure out a way to have more Sims in a house. You could obviously get rid of like the dining room or something, and make that bedroom, something like that. But yeah, that was basically it for the outside. I think I do add a little bit more later, but for now we're moving on to the inside of the build. So I'm starting off with this half bath, which was honestly the easiest bathroom of the lot. I don't know why upstairs I was just having such a struggle, but we'll get into that later. So again, I went with I'm pretty sure that sinks from Granite Falls, the outdoor retreat pack as well. And then I chose that loo, which I think it might be from Get Together, but it has a wooden seat and lid, so just made it seem a bit better, because I really wanted to bring as much wood into this build as possible, because it's like a log cabin, it's a bit rustic and everything, even though it's a bit bougie. It's bougie rustic, but it's rustic still. Yeah, and then I decided at that point as well to then decorate the walls and the floors before I forgot, and did the whole build without any wallpaper or flooring. And I just, like I said earlier, went with the outdoor retreat floorboards and wall paneling for the entire interior. And then you can see here I'm changing them both to a darker swatch, because my reasoning was that the wall paneling is the same on the inside and the outside because they've used the same material, but on the inside, of course, there's not so much sunlight, and so the wood hasn't become bleached from the sun, so that's why it's a bit paler on the outside. But yeah, and then this is me sort of fiddling around with the bathrooms. They don't stay like this, but here I'm using actually a light from the Star Wars pack, Journey to Batuu, which I really love the stuff from the Star Wars build pack. I like the build catalogue of the Star Wars pack. I also love the Star Wars pack in general. It's like the one game pack I've enjoyed the most playing. Probably like the one I've played the whole way through and know the most about, but sue me. I just like to be different. But yeah, so 10 out of 10 recommend the lights from Journey to Batuu. But yeah, and then I moved on into the kitchen. I used the Jungle Adventure counters, just because Outdoor Retreat doesn't come with counters. Obviously, it's more of like a camping pack. It was the focus of it, is what I understand. So it didn't have any counters I could use. So I thought Jungle Adventure was probably the closest thing. And also something I hadn't actually used yet in any of my builds that I've uploaded to YouTube. So I wanted to kind of switch it up a bit. Now this table is it is functional on one side, it's not functional on the other. So what I did was, I should have left the chairs like that and then they both would have been functional, but I just didn't like the chair sticking out into the walkway of the kitchen. So I tuck it in, and then I didn't test whether you could sit at the one on the left, and I'm pretty sure you probably won't be able to, because obviously a sim wouldn't be able to like pull it back. So yeah, my mind just was like, in life that would work. So, but hey ho. For the dining room as well, I stuck again with, I'm pretty sure, Outdoor Retreat. So I went with those dining chairs, these ones with the red swatch, which matches the sofa as well. I don't know if actually those are dining chairs, but I felt like they were, so I used them as such. But yeah, so I've picked the I'm pretty sure that table's from Outdoor Retreat as well. But yeah, so I've picked that, and then later I go and add in a sideboard. To make this ensuite, so both bathrooms upstairs are en-suites from the bedroom. To make this one functional, I did have to use a wall-mounted shower instead of a cabinet shower. And unfortunately, I couldn't fit the divider in that one. When I had this bathroom as the same, it worked on the right-hand one, but it wouldn't work on the left-hand one. Don't know why, because they're exactly the same layout, just reversed, but hey-ho. Not my problem, because fixed it anyway. I will say now, I think, because I think I had some trouble with the toilet in the smaller ensuite, where it would move when I would place the lot to playtest, because I couldn't playtest easily in this lot, because it's this lot in Granite Falls, because it is rental, so you can't build when you're renting somewhere. So I had to move the lot to another world and then playtest it there. So if the loo moves, I don't know why, but it does for some reason. But yeah, it should work with that layout. But yeah, so you see now I'm moving on to the bedrooms anyway. So the right hand one is more of the kids' room. Unfortunately, they do have to share. And the master bedroom is technically for the parents, with the master bathroom as well. So they get the wall-mounted shower and a bathtub. But aside from the bathtub, the furniture used in it is the same. And again, I'm using those lights from Journey to Batu. But yeah, so I just was struggling. I wanted to keep at least one like loft-ite kind of vibe, but it wasn't working. And then I realized, like, in real life you wouldn't have, would you? Maybe you would, I guess you would, but I just don't like the idea of a loft, the space of the loft being over the kitchen, because imagine all the cooking smells and how hot it would be. It'd be awful. So I decided to get rid of it and just make this one large bathroom, which I think worked out. So yeah, I'm just cluttering up here for now. It really is quite simple, this build. I wouldn't say, you know, like I've cluttered to the nines or anything. Because I thought it is bougie because it's a family home for a holiday, but it's still like they go here on holiday, they don't live here. So yeah. Yeah, and then for the master bedroom, I decided to do this sort of half divide with the bed hiding behind a wall, because then it was closer to the window. I wanted the bed to be facing out the window. I think I've mentioned in a previous video that I dislike when beds are up against a window. Sometimes it works, but I prefer it if the bed can look out through the window. especially with this view, it's quite nice. And I didn't want to have it so that like the bed was running widthways through the room, so like rotate it 90 degrees. I didn't want it that way. So yeah, I thought that was a good compromise because it's sort of shortened the room, gave some privacy, and allowed them to look through the window like I wanted. So here for the hallway, I do bring in the cats and dogs console table, and I've got rid of the wall that I originally had running on from the bathroom right hand side wall, just because I thought it made the entryway flow a bit nicer. It also gave me more space to build. And yeah, I just clutter it up with the plants. I bring in a little outdoor retreat mascot, and that box is full of like outdoor retreat supplies for camping and stuff, so I thought that would fit quite nicely, because maybe they have like a cleaner and the cleaner comes and then leaves them, like tops up the supplies and leaves it by the door for when they're coming to visit. So yeah, and then this is the study. So I bring in the university expansion pack, the bookshelf from there. Pretty sure that one is, just because it seemed lighter, it wasn't so clunky, so it didn't take up a lot of space in the room visually, like obviously physically does, but it doesn't look like it's dominating the room. And then I just bring in like a fuddy-duddy computer, just because again, like, they're on holiday, so they're not going to have like an expensive computer, but it's more so, you know, the idea is like the parents, if they have something urgent to do, or like the kids have urgent homework, then they can use that one computer, but they all share it. Yeah, and then I think that's basically it for this room. I do bring in like like basket of blankets and stuff, but that's later on. The lounge I was having a lot of struggle with because originally I didn't want to use a TV. You know me and my adversity towards TVs. But it was like there were too many seats in the lounge and it wasn't really working, so I had to bring in some focal point, and that was in the end a TV. So I've used those. I'm pretty sure those are from Cats and Dogs as well, those armchairs. Something like that, or like Get Together or something. But I just thought the gingham matched the sort of tartan on the couch really well, but had a good offset colour to the couch. I am using the outdoor retreat bedside table, little tables. Again, because the wood swatches matched nicely. I think if you stick to one pack with wood swatches, it goes a lot more easily together, and it's not so much stress having to figure it all out. But yeah, and then just a small TV that's like, again, nothing special because you're on holiday, you're not here all the time, and it's like a bit rustic of a place. So yeah, and then again I'm using that's a Cats and Dogs painting on the right there, but otherwise just cluttering up with some plants, and not that many actually. I think it's only the banana leaf one, and then I bring a gramophone through onto this, which it might be floating. It was there, and then I fixed it and managed to just like raise up, and I think it works. I think it doesn't float. So yeah, I'm also gonna, I'm so sorry for like all the times that you see me go through a wall. It's because I was trying to build on like eye level instead of from bird's eye view, which I usually do. But I needed the walls up, and then yeah, I don't know why I don't like the walls being down when I'm building. Mainly because a lot of the time I'm putting things on the walls, and you need to see the walls to put things on the walls, but yeah, so I'm just going to apologise for all the times that I went through walls, and imagine it probably, yeah. So for the kids, I was imagining it was one older sibling who's maybe about to go to university, and then one younger sibling who's just become like an older teen, so about 14, 15. So they're still kind of clinging onto their little preteen things. That's why I put a Void Critter poster up. and like some fairy lights and things. And then for the master bedroom and any like wall decorations and clutter, I do put in some of the photo frames. So like you could take photos of a family if you use this house, and then use those photos in the photo frames to make it a bit more personal. For this left hand side wall though, which we're facing now, I do put quite a lot of kids stuff up, and I was sort of imagining it to be the parents keeping souvenirs or like keepsakes of when their children were growing up in this holiday home or something like that. So yeah, and then behind the wall is a dresser and a mirror and a washing basket and an ironing board, just as a little laundry space. But I don't think I included... No, I should have put like the bucket outside, the washing, clothes washing bucket outside. But it's fine. Yeah, so also I put the radiators from the vampire stuff pack all the way through the build. That meditation stool actually works, which I was kind of impressed by, but I forgot to delete that plant on the left, which is by the bed, so that does go, because obviously you can't access the bed if that's there. So yeah, here you see me adding in some more wall decoration. I just went with some technical drawings because I thought they were minimalistic and bland enough to fit in. I was trying to keep it kind of toned down for this build, but yeah. So now we're back onto the outside where I start adding in a bit more landscaping. I use that grass from Jungle Adventure, and then I use also those low-lying flowers from Jungle Adventure, just to bring in a bit more colour, make it not so blocky all the way through. And then I add that all around, so that, along with the ferns, just so there's some dimension. But yeah, I didn't really terrain paint under the trees or anything. I think sometimes that works. Sometimes it is useful. It adds a bit of realness. Realness, is that a word? It makes it a bit more realistic. But if you think about it, not every tree has like a perfectly neat circle around it of just dirt. Some of them in real life do have grass growing all the way around them. So I just left them with grass and flowers. So there is the two trees again from Outdoor Retreat, the gnarled oak tree, and then the other one, which is, I can't remember, something like dry, but this is me coming to the end of the build anyway. So there's a rabbit hutch, which you will see rabbits in the screenshots. And that's kind of it all, really. It was just a cute little rustic family home. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!